Episode 2 of Season 3 of House of the Dragon Explained, and the train isn't slowing down, so let's get into it. We open up with the closing moments of the Battle of the Gullet. This actually would have been a great intro shot for the Riverlands battle, but we'll get to that later. This opening just shows us that Ulf, Adam and Hugh have arrived and are now sweeping away the remaining Triarchy fleet. I do like this little detail on Baela's dragon with her quiver of arrows and a crossbow on her back. Pretty cool if she could start shooting that thing whilst on dragonback, but probably overkill. Rhaenyra justifiably crashes out but decides not to take the life of Sir Laurent yet, but she does expect him to pay that cost later on.
Let Sir Laurent choose how he will die.
Over in the Riverlands, and we've yet again come across the aftermath of another brutal Riverlands W. In the books, the Battle of the Lakeshore, also known as the Fishfeed, was an absolute bloodbath. The 8,000 Lannister army had finished its slug through the Riverlands, reaching the God's Eye, but was unfortunately surrounded, with Dustin and some Frey men blocking the northern route to Harrenhal, which stopped the Lannisters from receiving reinforcements from Aemond and Criston Cole. The Lannisters take up a defensive position with pikes and do hold out for a short while, but unfortunately the Blackwoods have a bunch of elite archers who shoot down any Lannister ravens seeking help. However, the Blacks also know they can't starve out the Lannister forces, so they throw wave after wave of men at the Lannister lines until they break. And eventually the Lannisters are pushed into the God's Eye and all 8,000 men are killed. But the Blacks pay a heavy toll, as they lose more than 3/4 of their Winter Wolves and countless other Riverlanders. But because the lake and river runs red with the blood of soldiers, they call it the Fishfeed, which works on multiple levels with the Tully sigil being a fish. This is a rather big episode for Daemon and shows you how he elicits these relationships with the troops. For all his faults, he's not a soldier who backs down from a fight. He could fly in the sky and stay out of danger and just roast people. But on multiple occasions now, we've seen him on the ground getting stuck in. He also drops some absolute bars with the men to help build that camaraderie.
With his one good eye, he looks a prick!
And we've got Daemon, so go stick!
You're jogging up yours!
It's here he receives word from Simon Strong that Jace has fallen in battle, and he's required to help assist Queen Rhaenyra in the taking of King's Landing. So he directs Oscar and Dustin to march south while leaving a garrison at Harrenhal. This is where the timelines get a little iffy, where the butterflies of change begin flapping its wings. Last episode, the three amigos were at Harrenhal and Daemon was chasing down the Lannister army. But Aemond by this episode has barely left King's Landing, so a letter has left Dragonstone with the details of the Gullet and Jace's death to Daemon along with the information of taking Queen's Landing. But I guess to get things done they have to just do it this way. It's different. Originally, Daemon abandons Harrenhal when he hears of Aemond leaving King's Landing, and he circles west, drifts down the Blackwater to attack King's Landing. He doesn't go back to Dragonstone, he meets Rhaenyra and her forces at King's Landing, and it absolutely tilts Aemond because he's been duped. He's expecting to fight his uncle at Harrenhal and take a piece of him, but he's been left with a ruined castle, and now they've lost their capital. It's a cunning move by Team Black and it uses the Green's lack of resources against them. Before departing, Daemon has one last chinwag with Alice who talks of him coming being the end of some things and the beginning of things for others, most likely meaning the extension of the strung line at Harrenhal and the beginning of something else that is yet to happen. But she did mention she wanted Harrenhal as a reward for gaining the Queen 40,000 Riverlanders. Daemon sort of laughs this off, but she's freaked him out enough that he doesn't want to just shut her down completely, but mentions the fact that she has nothing to her name. Because of this, we've had back-to-back episodes where people who are doing a service for the Queen feel as if they are not being rewarded enough for their service. Look at Ulf from episode 1 for example. Back at the Gullet, Alan and Baela search for Corlys with the aid of Adam in the sky. Baela mentions how Corlys has been assumed dead a couple of times, and she's right. In Season 1, the whole issue of Succession of Driftmark was a pivotal storyline, and that continues this season, until at last Corlys names Alan as his successor by giving him his name. Just to update you, this is the current state of the Velaryons. Corlys is the head, and his legitimized sons are Alan and Adam, with Baela being his granddaughter through the marriage of Daemon and his daughter Rhaenyra. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. Anyway, over in the Crownlands, Aegon and Larys are caught up in some raids by the remnants of the Triarchy force. This is likely the northern force that raided Hightide, and it's easy to assume they just carried on down the coast to continue raiding and escape the wrath of the dragons. This allows Aegon the opportunity to escape and also silence anyone who knows of his existence with these men. And he mentions that he's on his way to Rook's Rest. Back at King's Landing, Alicent watches Aemond depart and starts implementing her plan for a bloodless coup or as little resistance as possible for the arrival of Rhaenyra. She visits the Gold Cloak locker room and, well, I'm sorry, but HBO, are we making up for all the lack of female nudity here? I guess the show is called Hot D, so I'll allow it, I guess. Here we are introduced to Luther Largent, who sounds like he deserves his own Marvel comic book series, and Alicent spills the beans on the plan and to see if he's willing to get involved. Spoiler, he is. Daemon finally makes it home to Dragonstone, and I love this detail of Ulf constantly going in for a hug when introduced to other Targaryens. But he knows to back off here because Daemon's not the hugging type, unless you spilt blood alongside him. Daemon is very unimpressed at the Dragonseeds being here and not at Harrenhal, and chastises the men for their unprofessionalism. The Dragonseeds being given a plan of attack on Aemond makes this rather clunky and adds a level of friction between our characters, and Ulf is quick to rat out that Adam was also there and didn't stay. But poor Ulf really takes the brunt of the abuse. But they also do mention that a witch gave them news of an assault, and Daemon leaves upon learning of this, but without answering the question of what Ulf and Hugh should do next. He's chastised them for thinking and not following orders, whilst also leaving them in the lurch. A bit of a mixed message from the Rogue Prince, which once again shows the hierarchy of the team. Daemon is allowed to go rogue, but God forbid someone else do so. Daemon also meets up with Mysaria, his former lover, if you forgot. If you watch carefully, you see the power dynamics in the scene shift as Daemon takes the elevation of the stairs to tower over Mysaria, but she soon grows to meet his stature. Then they part. This allows a reset as they begin speaking business rather than hurl personal insults at one another, and establish the lay of the land. Maester Gerardus then informs Daemon of Vhagar's departure at King's Landing. Daemon then coaxes Rhaenyra out of her depression to get back on the dragon and see through the plan of taking King's Landing. I get Rhaenyra's going through things right now, but I want that bad bitch from the book who was so utterly pissed off at this point. She's like, right, bring me my dragon and let's go take the fucking throne. Yes, we need drama and emotional release, but we had that when we mourned over Jace's body. That letter Daemon received should have been a call to war to bring Caraxes because we got some landing in Queen's Landing to do. I will highlight though that Daemon literally whispers into Rhaenyra's ear about the prophecies he has seen and that Sarah spoke of, and that does bring Rhaenyra back from the brink, that she has this responsibility to take that throne. It's just the very fact that Daemon needed to whisper into her ears gives a very slimy, manipulative feel to the scene. Back in King's Landing, we get this utter dross. Gonna skip this bollocks because out of all the scenes in the episode that are handled rather well, even if I don't agree with some of the story choices, this is just cheap. Metal band frontman Rhaenyra is ready for action. Daemon's brought home some of that Riverland eyeliner that saw the craze, and she's suited and booted, and Daemon's here to enforce Rhaenyra's actions. Whereas Jace instigated a mini mutiny, Daemon's here to enforce Rhaenyra's word is unquestioned and is very sharp with his delivery. It's still amusing though that it's still a man maintaining Rhaenyra's position, which shows it's rather rocky. Mysaria then presents Rhaenyra with her crown and tries to jockey for position about loyalty and being called to King's Landing. But Rhaenyra's just over this shit at the moment. It's too much politicking, not enough dragon riding. This is the ultimate victory lap for Daemon though. In fact, If anything needs to be said about this episode, it's not about Rhaenyra claiming the throne, it's that Daemon's living his best life. Look at every scene Daemon's in, it's just getting whatever he wants and needs, and the ending of the episode, it's the Otto head on top of that sweet, sweet cake. Hugh and Ulf are then given instructions to follow, and it's really drilled into poor Ulf's head. A little nice highlight is Ulf's character work. The actor is constantly looking to Hugh to follow his lead as he seemingly realizes he's on rocky ground and he's not the best at following the rules of court, unlike Hugh. These poor guys, they are on tenterhooks, the tribulations they went through to acquire these dragons, and they are still treated like shit. Back in King's Landing, Alicent requires Helaena to start using her queen voice to give orders to the men to stand down on Rhaenyra's approach. But there's something important here where Helaena talks about this not being the season for a bug she's looking at. It's always important to pay attention to these, and I'm not quite sure what it means. Previously, when she's looking at bugs, she utters prophecies such as beware the beast beneath the boards, or he will lose an eye to gain a dragon. So I'd be very curious what this means. Let me know in the comments what you think it could be and I'll pin it. But there is a freaky butterfly she's drawn, which is scary, because it talks about them causing death to people they are around, but so far she remains alive. Quite freaky. Not a diary I want to read. It's then funny how Alicent tells Helaena she's the queen. It's this feeling that these queens who have power are constantly told when and what they can do as queen. Helaena responds about the possibility of a simpler life in typical Helaena fashion, and I love it.
I think I might like to keep chickens.
Helaena reminds me so much of my sister.
I will not have any beast harmed.
Kristen, Gwaine, and the Green Boys witness Vhagar flying overhead as he descends on Harrenhal and absolutely demolishes that poor garrison of troops left to defend it. Watching Vhagar absolutely destroy things is one of my favourite things. And well, if you're wondering who could stop Aemond and Vhagar, check out this video Liam did covering this exact situation, after you finish watching this one though. But Aemond manages to dispatch of what looks like a Bracken, some Tully Scrubs, and a guy from House Piper, all of which I know because of their sigils or attire, and we made a video about it. Aemond's got some skills though, as he wields that Valyrian steel dagger with the prophecy on it, along with Blackfire, the Sword of Kings. It's actually pretty cool seeing Aemond dual wield these weapons. Gives him a unique fighting style, and it's cool. I also love the unique detail that his helmet has an eye patch built in, though it probably would have been better to have a face visor. But then we wouldn't see his anime chin as much, and well, the actor wants us to know he's doing this cool choreography, so fair play. Simon Strong can't believe his luck that he'd have to host 2 Dragon Riders, except this one doesn't want any dinner, he just wants blood. It's important to note that what triggers Aemond is the mention of an army decamping, which means to hastily pack up and get a move on, which means Aemond's been played for a fool as there's no fight waiting for him. Unfortunately, he turns his back to a combatant and pays the price for it, and he begs Alice for help. Now I wonder what toll she's going to ask for. Now, considering that Aemond just cleaned house, maybe she'll get the castle she wants. Now, I absolutely love these aerial shots of the dragons approaching King's Landing. It also reintroduces us to some characters such as Hugh's wife, Ulf's drinking mates, and Aemond's dummy mommy. Now, I think this is Emma Darcy's acting, but I love how Rhaenyra has a slouched look for the second half of the episode, as if the entire weight of the world's on her shoulders as she's marching forwards. Rhaenyra's not standing fully upright in this monumental moment, she's struggling. Daemon cleans house in the courtyard. I think he's dead, bro. Daemon's just killing anyone in the vicinity who looks at him funny or approaches in a manner he deems unfit. And before Rhaenyra can ascend the throne, Rickard Thorne appears with some green loyalists. He does drop a banger of a line.
I credit you this. Brazen or thick.
I suppose that depends whether I win or lose.
Before the Gold Cloaks show up. Now, if you know the history of the Gold Cloaks, you knew how this scene was going to play out. Otherwise, this serves as a nice parallel to Ned Stark's attempt at seizing the throne in Game of Thrones. The Gold Cloaks are effectively the police force of King's Landing. They get their names for the gold cloaks they wear, which were part of the uniform Daemon granted them. If you remember back in season 1, our introduction to Daemon was him rousing his gold cloaks to clean up the city, and he did it in rather ruthless fashion.
Beginning tonight, King's Landing will learn to fear the colour gold.
He was also able to infiltrate King's Landing in season 2 because he was known to the gold cloaks and they let him through the gates. Even Blood, the assassin, was a former officer in the ranks. Again, a full circle moment where I mentioned earlier that Daemon is able to elicit fierce loyalty in the men he has fought beside. In the books, Luther Largent actually opens up the gates, and he does so by stabbing Otto Hightower, whom Otto had made second in command. This was because Otto obviously distrusted the gold cloaks due to their heritage with Daemon. When Gawain accuses them of being turncloaks, Luther drops this great line: "Daemon gave us these cloaks and they're gold no matter how you turn them." Obviously, Gawain's story has shifted because he's not in King's Landing at this point. The gold trim on Luther's armour to denote rank is also a nice little touch. I was hoping Rickard Thorne was going to live and die by the sword, but he just sort of gets taken away, sadly. What's interesting is that I have no idea how many Kingsguard or Queensguard exist anymore. Stefan Darkling got Crispied. One of Aegon's buddies got ripped apart, Kristen's in the Riverlands, Sir Lawrence being given his ambiguous marching orders, Aegon's other two buddies, got sent to the war by Aemond, and then we had this random dude. So, yeah. The role of the Kings and Queens Guard is so important, and usually there's 7 of them, so I do wonder if Rhaenyra will start filling up her roster. The episode isn't done though. In the search for Aegon, the previously held prisoners from season 1 and 2
House Fell keeps its sworn oath to the princess.
Are released from the dungeons.
Lord Merryweather and Lady Fell, imprisoned for holding to the oaths, Your Grace.
We also finally get the answer to where Otto Hightower is, and disappointingly, it was in the Black Cells all along. The real life answer for this is because Rhys Ifans, the actor, has been a busy boy, as he's headlining the Apple TV show Star City, and his role in season 2 was greatly diminished, so he just sort of disappears halfway through. For whatever reason, Larys Strung had Otto imprisoned, but in the books, Otto is at King's Landing when it's taken, and he is beheaded, so that does line up. It's just the reasoning for him being present there are different. Make no bones about it. This is all Daemon's name days rolled into one. He absolutely hated Otto Hightower from the first episode of the show to Otto's last.
I've only ever spoken the truth. I see Otto Hightower for what he is.
An unwavering and loyal hand.
So getting to watch his head go for a tumble? There's no beating that for the rogue prince. Now, during the actual scene, there's a lot of things happening. Lots of character work for the audience to feast on. They may not be able to behead Aegon to cement their ascension, but beheading Otto is, well, it's the third best thing at this point. Rhaenyra's completely out of her depth here though, and Daemon should have taken the opportunity to wield the sword and behead Otto. But he urges Rhaenyra to do it, and if Game of Thrones has taught us anything, being unable to behead someone cleanly emphasizes someone for being unfit for the role. And Rhaenyra absolutely botches this. She misses Otto's neck, which the show goes to great pains to highlight, and the audience, instead of stepping away, gets closer. These are members of the court who were likely part prisoner or Green supporters, but it shows how fickle the court is that in the blink of a moment they'll kiss the ring, then leaning closer to get a good angle of your head leaving your shoulders. But Rhaenyra's an absolute mess, and I love it. All the snot coming out as she's crying, having to go through this. This is a woman who's not even buried her son. It's so much stress pumping through her veins, and well, Otto pays the price. And super important, she closes her eyes as she swings, so of course she bloody misses his neck. I'll often bemoan some of the writing on the show, but the execution of this scene, perfection. Daemon then shows us an example of how it's done as he takes Jasper Wild's head, and Rhaenyra steps through Otto's pool of blood. It's sticky, it's messy, she's walking to the throne leaving a path of blood behind her. It mirrors Viserys' own walk to the throne, a struggle to ascend the steps. That's what the Iron Throne does to a person. Alicent doesn't look too happy at seeing her father's head on the floor, but she doesn't look too surprised either. So we'll learn more about who's involved in Otto's kidnapping next week, probably. But overall, I thought this was a great little episode, a lot less action, but maybe some cooler moments, and definitely a lot less anger inducing. What did you guys think?